Hello there everybody and welcome back to episode 13 of my tutorial series for Songs of SYX version 65. So, in the last episode we have brought up a huge new farming project alive. We are now finally seeing returns that exceed our consumption. So for the very first time, the city is actually producing more food than it's consuming, and therefore things are really well and good. So we've been preparing in the last episode for another topic that I want to introduce today, and that's procreation. You see, every species can have their own children in their city. So here we're going to set up today a Cretonian breeder, and I'm also going to introduce the schooling system at the same time, as I feel like these just belong together, and it's just a fine idea to have these things run together at the same time. So first of all, we're going to set up the breeder. This is where the babies get born, this is where they're getting taken care of, so we don't go for a huge thing here because I want to keep it small as my income is just crappy right now. So every crib provides room for one baby, as you might have already thought, and we have huts that just increase the efficiency. So that's that. I really keep it minimal as the thing here is quite simple. The moment you don't have enough food available for the kiddos, there will be death. So we want to avoid that. Resource-wise, it's quite simple. It's intermediate things. Bit of carpentry, a bit of fabric, nothing too challenging or costly here. So we got a second lab that needs to be staffed out. We have a terrible amount of farmers that we need to employ. So yeah, we're just going to allow all the immigration to happen. So as you see, we're now no longer capable of drawing that many immigrants in. This is mostly because the available amount of services is too low, not because we don't have any further capacities for immigration. You can, of course, decide for yourself how you want to balance out things, as this is the method to use for all other species as well. You see, every other species has their nurseries, but Dondorians don't, as you see, as they are just appearing out of thin air or something like that. Anyways, every species has its own needs, so the Amivian need fish, the Gothimi meat, the human fruit, the Tilapi need fruit, and the Cretonians need veg. So only do this if you are positive that your veg income is high enough, / your denari income is high enough to stem those imports if necessary. We do this, so we don't need to worry about that too much. We got these people employed, so everything should be just good here. We really need more people though, as currently we are just having enough people to staff out the grain farm and the cotton farm. At end of the story, not much more possible. So it is important that our city keeps growing. In that regard, it's really important that we check regularly back with our quality things. So it's again taverns and bathhouses. So yeah, it's pretty clear that the bathhouse situation isn't too good if we only have a singular bathhouse for the entire city. So yeah, we're going to put a bathhouse right next to the fishing area now. I don't want to override the trees. We got the first bathhouse here. It is always a wise choice to try and space them out logistically a bit. So we're going to go here, not on top of the trees. So, and they were craving for yet another tavern. Since this is becoming our agricultural center, we're also going to set up another tavern room here. Let's see how far that'll get us. The other services I already took care of, that they were at least present, so there is not that much of a drop, but I really do see that the lavatory and the market situation won't be making people happy. So we're just picking up the service buildings as necessary, and as you see there, it is really a cool thing. Once you have your city established, you just pick up the parts that you need, and your city becomes more and more modular of sorts, as you just have more and more pieces available that you can go for. Now, the crib does not need any further things done by your side. I also want to stress out how important it is that you think about the size of these breeders wisely. This is by no means a too small one. You see, every 6 days we have a new child now, or something like that. So all in all, we will see a steep increase in population the moment you build these. What I'm trying to get down to here is that the moment you put up the procreation as an option here into your city, you will have a ever increasing need of food stockpiles. That's just in short what that means, and it's really, really important that you are aware of that and ready to stem that tide when it comes down crashing on you. So I prefer, for that reason, to have small breeders, as this keeps the numbers steadily increasing. It's a slow and steady increase, which is easily fixable with just a new tech buy or anything like that. You see, all in all, it makes the situation don't escalate as quickly if you just happen to be a little bit absent-minded or whatever might be the case. The bathhouse is going to be completed here slowly while we're playing. There's always going to be a pit of cut stone being put in there. It's totally fine. We don't need more than that. We are now waiting on these farms to be completed, and I have promised you, of course, schooling. So let's get back to this part. Schooling is available for children. So children can learn here and become more productive, as far as I've understood things. We can also, instead of educate, indoctrinate them, which makes them more resilient against unhappiness and more ignorant about really bad circumstances in your city. So you can use that either to make your city more productive or to just make them shut up and obey. So it is just like school is. And the first thing that we require, though, is that I can't remember anymore. Just in these, yeah, requires paper to function. Right, there it is. I had it right on the back of my mind. So we're introducing paper making today. That's what I've been really looking forward to. So paper making is a very, very important thing happening in pretty much every city at some point. In the past, paper making was used by me first and foremostly for administrational purposes, but well, times have changed. Paper is much more needed in many, many other ways in your city. I do like it. I really love how that reflects realism in a medieval society quite well. Paper was a darned important resource. You know, books don't write themselves that easily. You just need something to write on. So it's really cool. Enough said about that. We need now a paper maker after we have unlocked them. So the paper maker is a very, very simple industry. It just takes wood and churns it out paper. You Kryptonians, again, are not that good at doing this, and I think it is very soon about time that I will be introducing a multicultural aspect of this gameplay. I think we do have more and more good reasons to do so. You know, here at this point, it would be, for example, very, very helpful to have a couple of Dondorians doing the job for us, because they don't mind writing, like our Kryptonians. Either way, we need here the same things as usual. We need workbenches, but here it is again, just bench as much as you can stem, as these benches cost you metal. They are quite heavy in terms of cost, therefore go as far as you can, as it is really powerful to have these places geared out, but a layout like this, for example, has the opportunity to get a few more benches in, a few more auxiliary stations. We could cramp in a couple of employees more later. I think this is as good as I can do. So we're going to go for that. And the paper maker is insofar a very interesting industry, as he is taking a very, very basic resource and putting out a sophisticated material there that can be used in the worst case scenario for trading, and has a dirty, rotten, high investment cost when you want to put it up in the first place. Alright, it's just metal, you could say, but the amount of metal that was necessary here to put this thing up is quite costly. So I don't know if the initial cost is intended. If it is, I find it absolutely okay, because, you know, paper making does unlock another way of earning us money. So speaking about earning money, it is also about time that we go for more export depots. Here we go. Let's just pile them up here at this part of the city. We need 3 more of them. 2 for food and 1 for paper. Yeah, we're going to go all in seriously now with the food production. Therefore, it is now time to set up a couple of export depots that start exporting food as soon as we are capable of doing so. We're not getting ahead of ourselves here, of course. So the second grain farm does take a bit of a while because there's, again, not enough grain available, but the trade caravan comes on in, and we're still seeing some positive denaries here. All in all, it is okay. All in all, I would recommend you to, if this would have been my city to begin with, to have gone harder into farming to begin with and less into tool making and all those things that Cretonians suck at. But you see, I wanted to introduce all the systems before I go power gaming, because I always feel like it's important to understand the underlying mechanics that make power gaming powerful before you go power gaming. Otherwise, you can't expand on the power gaming you saw on the internet because you just know how to copy paste. And that's only half of the equation. Well, alright. So the grain farm is being completed, which is really good. So I need to double click again. Ugh. So many people coming into the city. I really dread to pick up that many people at once. You know me. It's all about keeping the city under control. But there's going to be 22 people being bound here, 22 people being bound here. So we really need the extra workforce, as the extra grain and the extra cotton will be finally what our industries need to fully gear up themselves and start kicking. Now, the fruit orchard is now for the first time to be producing something soon. I don't know. Looks like we have... Boy, oh boy. This is a sick harvest. So, it's the first time for me that I try out the orchards in this huge industrialized thing. I only gave him a whirl to try out the mechanics. Small one. So, I'm quite impressed by the numbers. So that's really cool. So orchards, like I said in the previous episodes, are a really good thing once you have the workforce for them. But until then, well, I think it is better to rely on farms, because farms give you an annual income, whereas these guys, they require quite a lot of preparation. But this is going to catapult our city into completely new realms of productivity. Now, the paper maker's workshop is now fully staffed out right from the get-go. I leave it like that. As you see here, the production is really horrible. We only produce just 5.5 scrolls a day. Well, it is what it is. We will then put up the exports for paper. As you see there, paper is a fairly valuable resource. We check back with the DK. The spoilage is 10% per year. We have only 8.33 now because of technological advances. But that means for me, I will be exporting once we have hit the 90% mark, because there will be an annual spoilage of roughly 10%, so we're basically just selling off what would spoil anyways. At least that's always my train of thought. We will now also install a export for fruit, but it will be a export. We cannot go for this like that, but we'll be only exporting if we are, let's say, at 60% of our total capacity, 65. Let's say 60. And with the vegetable, I'll be a little bit more conservative, as I want to have always something for the babies available. We're going to go export as soon as we are above the 70%. These trade goods aren't as valuable as paper will, but they will be also pulling their weight over the course of the time for the city's economy. Because ultimately, we will be overproducing like crazy. At least this should be always your goal with whatever economy you're specializing into. Aim for a fairly high overproduction that is reserved for your own needs, of course, and for exporting. Songs of Six has become lots more complex in the previous versions. By now, the economy around you does play a role. You can select up here the map mode, and you can see a little bit of terrain, a little bit of minerals, and stuff like that. So you can get yourself an idea what the local economy is composed of. So this also means this will have an influence on the trading prices. So in a nutshell, if none of the empires around you have access to ore, you'll have a very, very high price for ore because you'll have to buy it from faraway places. That's just basic things. So let's check back with our service situation. Most services are going back up again, but we'll need another market down here. So we'll just do so. And at this point, we have reached the stage where expanding the city is getting more and more comfortable. You can, of course, I don't know if I introduced this already, I think I did, use blueprints. In case I didn't, please leave me a comment that I need to talk about blueprints again, but I think I have made a warehouse blueprint in this series already. Either way, you can either copy them directly, or you can create yourself a blueprint library. You just need to copy your builds, and then you have them available for any city. I personally don't like doing that, as I hate doing always the same build-wise, so I try to keep my things as fresh as possible, because I always learn something new, and while I'm learning something new, I'm incorporating in new ideas, and I'm rarely that satisfied with my builds that I think like, yeah, I'm going to save that and only use that from now on. Some might say I'm also too lazy to optimize these things, but I'll leave that decision up to you. Now, so we are constructing another market here, and as you see, the furniture stockpiles are being steady at that point. We also see a much steadier income of fruit and vegetables, so all in all, our city is growing and growing more stable. So we need more scientists now, because we still have our schooling project. So schooling, well, at this point, I actually wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend to start schooling once you get there, to have more people in the city and more kids. But I still want to explain real quickly what it is, how it works, and as you see there, it will cost us paper. Let's see, at some point the extra scientists will churn out the extra knowledge. And schooling is, if I remember correctly, not really impactful in terms of making your people happy. As you see, their education is actually not valued by the Crotonians at all. Oh God. I didn't look this up when I prepared this episode. So these guys, they actually prefer to stay dumb. So we shouldn't worry too much about the schooling in the first place. When you're playing Crotonians, obviously things are working out a little bit differently. But nevertheless, I want to stick with the guns here. So you have down here the option to either educate or indoctrinate in your schools. You can also check out how much permission the people should have. So if they should be allowed to be in the school or not. And here with the Crotonians, it's actually, as a matter of fact, wise to just give them no permission at all. So you're... Oh, no, it's the other way around. They love indoctrination. So, yeah. That's the way how you school Crotonians, obviously. I'm very sorry that I overlooked that detail, but we fixed it up in this episode, so I'll leave it like that. So this emphasizes, though, how different people are in your cities. So, for example, the humans like to be educated. They really love this, but actually, most cultures prefer indoctrination over education. This is terrifying. I didn't think this would be a thing, but whatever. So here we have it. The schools themselves, well, I hope you forgive me that I'll be not building a school right now, as this would be a terrible waste of science points at this run, and it is yet another building where you're basically just putting in workers. The real big deal behind it here is in the occupational menu. Here you do the real configurations. If you build a school, you just need to supply the according materials. So, well, the paper making industry is not needed for the schools because we don't build schools here. I mean, by all means, you could increase the happiness now with indoctrination. This is absolutely a possibility here, and I really hope you forgive me that I'm not going down this way. If you want to, leave me a comment and we'll just fix it up in the next episode. We'll do it for now like that, because I don't think I need to explain that much more on that system. Now then, we are currently down to 4 workers, 12, but yeah, you see that this is how it goes. We are also seeing the herb farm being done. There it goes. So this will be another thing that we can fill the episode with. So first of all, we need to go for the herb farm, and we need to stop importing our herbs. That's the very first thing that we need to do. Instead, we're going to start exporting these now and stack up much larger amounts of these. So herbs are what we need to create rations. Rations, I've been talking about them, are amazing in many terms. First of all, they allow you to stockpile more food. So we have an estimated harvest of 274 herbs per year, not too much. They allow you to store food for a longer period of time, but also they'll ultimately allow us to gear out armies. So very powerful, very important. And with a ration maker employed, we will stop putting the fish and the meat into export, I think, and we are starting to turn these into rations and then export these rations instead, as these will be much more lucrative than what we are doing right now, as exporting the goods unrefined is always less of a profitable thing, as you might have already noticed. Ration makers are really massive insofar as they allow you to go past the spoilage problems. So we're not going to crank this place up too hard, though, as we are not using, or we're not featuring that much of an insane herb production, so we should be better off with just leaving it small for now and expand it if necessary. So we need just to put up a storage there. Let's put it down here. And here we go. So all in all, we are now also increasing our incomes. We have now rations being made soon. We have the paper being made. That paper will be also a nice export value for us until we use it for ourselves. That is one hell of a way to refine wood into something more valuable. Overall, I really value the paper maker a lot, as this material, yeah, it is a little bit hard to produce for the Cretonians, but, well, it is valuable. We're going to stick with education. They might not like it, but the increase of productivity is for me more valuable than the increase of happiness, as I personally think that, well, we can fetch up happiness another way, a different way. I also want to stress out at this point that in this game you should never try to achieve all meters at once. You should really not try to make everything happen at once and everybody happy at once. It just won't work like that. It is much more about optimizing what you're doing yourself well, and then taking the other things that you cannot do yourself from the outside sources and balance out your city like that. Much more effective. Alrighty, so the ration maker does not need that much more of an introduction. We just need to give those yummy rations a place to be stored at. They are up there, or here. So I'm maxing out the stockpiles here for these. And we are now going to stop exporting meat. There we go. So that one is now going to be replaced by ration exports. And as you can see here, rations are worth much more than that meat. They also spoil much slower. They have a natural spoilage rate of only 10% per year, which is really ridiculously low. And we're going to export, though, like 90% of our income. I'll leave a couple of rations as something that we can fall back onto if something really bad happens to the city. But all in all, I don't want to do too hard here, and I think I totally overshot. I had no clue that the ration maker is so darned efficient. Whoopsie daisy. So as you see here, we need to check back with our farm here. Our daily production is 17, as it seems. So we should try to balance this out until we hit a daily production, a daily consumption of 17 herbs per day. There we go. So let's leave it somewhere like that. Oh, maybe I didn't overshoot as hard as I think I did. Alrighty, so like I said, to summarize today's topic, we got now a steady influx of new Cretonian babies. You can always check with how many children you got here at this screen. The question whether to indoctrinate or educate your people, I leave that up to you. I personally prefer education much more over indoctrination, as I personally see happiness being much easier fulfillable than productivity. But I don't know, maybe I'm misplaying somewhere. Maybe this is a current balancing issue. It's hard to tell for me, because I personally always value the education bonus that I get, and then I'm just happy and take it like that. Anyway, my good friends, that is pretty much all I have had to say for today. The city is amazingly stable now. We now should check out that we get our daily meat production topped up to our daily herb production. Until then, there is one more thing that we totally should do, as there is one open export depot. I have herbs, and if I am not mistaken, we have way more of them than we currently use up. So we check back with our ration maker real quick. This one can churn up 15 a day. The year in Songs of Six has 16 days, so that means we are churning up 15 a day. That is 150 in 10, 75 in 5, so that means we roughly need a couple, like 250 to 300 in the stockpiles, so we can easily export whatever is above that. So let's see. No, we just need roughly around that. The rest can be safely exported and earn us some sweet cash. So the city is now at a spot where we can really call it a city. We have a food industry. We have people growing up here. We have a couple of industries that mostly produce money for us. They're not in full gear yet, but they're getting into motion. So this is working out really nicely for us. So we can now get into the more sophisticated chapters quite soon. But there are still a couple of things that we need to take care of in the upcoming episodes, namely taking care of the necessary upgrades and getting ourselves prepared to pay for armies and pay for politicians, and that is where things get quite costly. So if you have a topic that you'd like to see covered in the series yourself, and you feel like I'm not getting towards it, or you want to see it covered as soon as possible, let me know in the comments. I hope I can help you out. So, that all being said, thanks for watching, leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and of course, check out the description box if you're new to the series. You'll find a link down there leading to the entirety of the series. And apart from that, we also have links down there to my Discord server, so if you want to have a chat or something, reach out to like-minded gamers that like games like Songs of Six. You'll find them there. And of course, there's Patreon, PayPal, and Buy Me a Coffee. I'd be delighted if you'd give these a look, as these are the best ways it means to support the channel. A big thanks to all of you who already are supporting the channel, and a big thanks to you watching this video as well, because without you, these videos would be really without any value. So, thanks for being around, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.